This is, Mr. Chairman, a very intriguing title. Are we friends of recombinant FSH, or do we think we have to mix with AMH? So when I started to prepare this talk, I went to the PubMed search. It was very intriguing for me to see that mixed stimulation is almost not known in published data. There was a questionnaire, some estradiol concentration related to pain, and treatment of male infertility. So I thought to myself, this is a very difficult task if PubMed is not with me. If I went to Menopur, which is a kind of mixture of ACG, as you know, then there are many publications. But still, it's very strange that it was related to elective IVF, to IUI, to serum estradiol concentrations. So not really answering the point of my talk. So I tried again. And I said to myself, I have to go to the definition, always a definition. I have to go to the definition of mixed protocol. On the 22nd of April, 000. So it's an invitation for the Asian Society of Reproduction. Make a definition, please do it, so that I can give a talk which makes sense. Absence of definitions. There are some tentative definitions. First of all, it could be recombinant FSH combined with LH or ACG, is one definition. HPHMG containing FSH and HCG is one definition. Recombinant FSH replaced at the end of the follicular phase by a low-dose ACG. HPHMG replaced at the end by low-dose ACG. Is it used in Asia? I don't know. Apparently not. Or starting with REC-FSH followed by HPHMG. And I look to my right side to the American colleague, who probably means with the mixed protocol combination of REC-FSH, adding HPHMG, so the two products together. And they always tell me, this is an excellent protocol. But where is the evidence? Where is a randomized controlled trial? So simple to do, A, B, and comparing. So when I was preparing this talk, you understand that I was suffering a lot about the mixed protocol, because absence of definition. So I tried to dig the data. HMG increased the yield of mature oocytes. This was a study published by an American colleague in a selected group of patients in women with only 20% mature oocytes. And they claimed that there was a higher amount of mature oocytes. It could be true, but the level of evidence is poor. Impact of LH in a retrospective study on the ploidy rate of embryos. Cycles 104, and the euploidy rates, the normal ploidy rates of the embryos, was exactly similar in both arms. Study in FNS 2009, not powered study, level of evidence is poor. Is there a need to add LH in antagonist protocols to improve the results? This is a study we have published ourselves with low LH concentrations and high LH concentrations at day 6 of stimulation before antagonist and you see there's no difference in pregnancy rates. It's in favor of the high LH. There's one study published, a randomized controlled trial by a group from France, Cedrin, Hugues, where they had two arms, FSH plus LH, FSH alone, no difference, 24 pregnancy rates, 24 delivery rates. So mixing LH and FSH apparently makes no sense. But still, when we talk to many colleagues in centers, in presentations, in meetings, they claim the older the patients, the more you need to add LH. But again, I'm looking to the American colleagues. Where are the data? I could not find them. Is it true that adding LH in the follicular phase helps? This is a retrospective study. Retrospective study. Again, why not prospective? Where is the research question? Anyhow, they claim that live births should be higher in this retrospective analysis, as you see here, 42 versus 49%. But again, the level of evidence is poor because it's a retrospective analysis. Benefits of LH in ovarian stimulation provided by HMG, by REC-LH, by ACG. And in this meta-analysis by Venetis, he clearly claims that the evidence for randomized controlled trials is lacking, and there's an urgent need to do and to perform these studies. So again, there is a lot of facilities and opportunities to perform these randomized trials because, according to this meta-analysis, we don't know. This is a quite intriguing study. It's comparing HMG versus HP-HMG in a crossover study, 36 patients, and they claim that the top quality embryos are significantly increased in HP-HMG. This is a very interesting study at the level of embryos, paper published in 2010 by Orvieto. So if you go out of this room and you think about a study to present in your next meeting, next year, think about this study. It's simple to do, and there's a lot of information available because you have many embryos available per cycle. It's intriguing, this one. This is menopur, but in the article it said meropur. I think that's a mistake, a typing error. Two study groups, no difference whatsoever in this particular study published in 2010. But again, the level of the study is extremely poor. And you ask your questions, why peer-reviewed journals accept all these studies? Because you cannot draw any conclusion. It's not powered. This is a quite intriguing question, but as you see, very, very, very strange. It's HP-HMG antagonist cycles. It's an open, quasi-experimental, I never heard that word before, multi-center, prospective, parallel controlled study with three groups, HP-HMG, REC-FSH, and combined REC-FSH and H. There's the real mixed protocol, the last line. Let's look to the results. The combined combination was not significant, as you see, although higher, but not significant. And the combined combination gave top quality embryos of 19%, which was not significant. So the level of evidence, again, is 0. But I think that this is an interesting question. If you could combine HP-HMG versus REC-FSH and HP-HMG in a two-arm study, as performed in the US on many occasions. And then maybe we could know the result. But with this type of study, we cannot know. So the initial study design is always extremely important to draw conclusions. But what do you think about stimulation with FSH, HPHMG, and when the follicles are receptive for ACG, replacing FSH by ACG? This is the idea, for instance, from Filicori in 1999. We have performed a study, antagonist FSH, in two arms, one arm FSH, and in the other arm low-dose ACG at the end, so the bottom line. So you replace. It was a small study, randomized 70 patients, and you see that you have the same number of oocytes, the last line, and you have acceptable pregnancy rates. Again, there is no large prospective randomized trial. There is none. It could be a beautiful study to compare one type of drug and then replace the other one at the end by the idea of Filicori. But I cannot answer your question because there are no data. And you see here that by doing so, you reduce the number of the units of FSH by 2,800 to 1,200, which could be very important in terms of repeating cycles, more drugs available for treatment. This is a very interesting idea. Why? Because it is a randomized control trial. Coming back to the question of the back, to the previous speaker, what if you think should be the case if you stimulate with HPHMG versus FSH in PCOS patients? And you see from this prospective trial, paper published in FNS, that there are again more top quality embryos in HPHMG. The same idea as Orvieto had. And this has a high level because it is a randomized controlled trial at the level of embryos. Also, in a paper published in 2010, where they compared HPHMG versus REC-FSH in almost 1,000 patients, the cumulative birth rate was significantly higher in HPHMG. It's a paper published in LBM Online, and the cost was less in HPHMG. So these arguments are in favor of HPHMG. It's published a few years ago. The only point you could say is that the cumulative pregnancy rates after 3 cycles are not very, very high, but that's true for both arms. It's acceptable. I think these are interesting results, and this study maybe should be repeated. It is also true that, as you said, the ethnic groups, but also the quality of the centers. I'm always intrigued when you look to the American data and the European data. American data are always better, and also here. So when we compare multicentric studies, we have to be very careful about the differences, not only according to ethnical approaches, but also to the centers involved. And apparently, the live birth rate in the USA, in the paper published by Baker, was 38% and only 27% in Europe. That's another very important point. So, Mr. Chairman, my conclusion is quite depressive. No peer-reviewed data found in PubMed on mixed protocols. So we have to work on it. 2, I did not find definitions. There are no properly powered studies. Almost all studies were underpowered. So it's an open invitation to perform well-designed randomized controlled trials to really answer your question. Thank you.